Hello and welcome to this review of my Focus FP-21. Yeah, it's a keypad this time, not a keyboard. People have requested keypads before and I thought this one was definitely interesting enough. I bought it for a tidy sum, $50, much more than I normally pay for whole keyboards, even though it was only 2/3 of the asking price. I basically bought it for myself as a present for finishing my PhD. The thing is, Focus is my favorite keyboard manufacturer because they always did interesting, cool things with their keyboards. For example, the 2002 came with this pretty kick-ass looking detachable dust cover, which also functions as a page holder. They patented that thing, by the way. It's a one-sentence patent. And they made stuff like the Focus 8000, which comes with this funky integrated calculator, which is surprisingly useful, even though it's usually broken. That's the unfortunate downside of Focus, by the way. They made lots of cool stuff, but it was usually rather harebrained and always broke or didn't work properly. That makes them basically the Lancia of keyboard manufacturers. Cool and really interesting and really good looking, but usually defective. This Numpad is much the same. It's not a normal Numpad. There's no numbers on it at all. It's actually a macropad with 16 programmable function keys and a spare escape, backspace, and enter key. It works in a really weird way. It comes with a PS2 port here that you're supposed to plug your actual keyboard into, and then you stick its own cable into the PS2 port on your computer. There's a generic AT to PS2 adapter included as well for if you're using an AT board. Shame it's not Focus branded. The problem with this setup is that the weight of the keyboard cable keeps pulling the keypad off the desk. You can plug them in separately and they'll work, but you can only program it if you route it through the keypad. I actually got it brand new in its original box, with plastic and manual still included. Nice. So let's have a look at the Oh, it's just a crappy sheet of A4 paper. Yep, that's Focus all right. The manual isn't the most well translated. Focus is a Taiwanese company, so there's a bit of English, but it's not too bad. So what you do is you go to DOS or Notepad or something like that, and then you press the program key plus a PF key. A little red light comes on here. Then you input your string, like T, E, S, T. And then you press the PF key again, the light goes off, and it should be all right. And indeed, as you can see, it works fine like this. Well, so that's easy to use, right? Exactly, except it doesn't actually work properly. The problem is that if you use any modifier keys like Control or Alt or Shift, it has a very high chance to get stuck on that key. And the problem with that is that most macros I use at least one modifier key. That makes this keypad both an awesome idea and almost useless at the same time. Only Focus. By trying lots of times, I managed to program my 4 most used shortcuts at least, the ones I use for emails. I have these programmed to the Numpad, used them for years. For example, Control-Alt-Divide is open email, Control-Alt-Multiply is check email, minus is to show notifications, and plus is mark as read. Very useful. Now with this keypad, I programmed that to PF1 through PF4, which goes much more easily, of course, but more importantly, I can still use them when I'm using one of those blasted keyboards without a Numpad. For the same reason, I actually programmed a Numpad on the other keys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times minus plus. I'll probably program more macros over time, but this is good enough for now. Now, judging by the logo, I thought this would be a 3rd generation Focus product, in which case you'd expect it to come with Focus Dome with slider switches, which are relatively complicated and better than normal rubber domes, but not that great. But as the back of the box advertises, it actually comes with genuine mechanical key switches, in this case Alps clones. There's actually 2 different types of switches in this keypad, but they're mostly this type, with numbers in opposite corners. They're USw LABI01 switches, a type of copperleaf mantisfoot clicky Alps clone switch. They're a bit clunkier than genuine Alps, but it's not that bad. Of course, key feel isn't super important for a Numpad. It's nice enough that it's mechanical at all, to be honest. Other things the box shows are that it's Windows 95/98 compatible, and it will support Windows 2000 upon release. I think that ship has sailed by now, boys. You can program up to 33 characters per key, which is not too bad. I've seen more, but I've also seen worse. And the LED will flash when memory is almost full, specifically when you've got 30 or more characters put in. If you program too much stuff into it, it tends to get stuck though, so it's not completely reliable. It doesn't have a volatile memory, so it will remain programmed when powered down, and all the software is built in, it doesn't need a driver. This last bit is very useful because I've noticed with some newer keyboards like the Corsair K70 Lux that the macros don't work because the drivers don't work properly on my computer. Besides, you don't have to visit some web page to download software, which, considering this is from the 90s, would have been hard. It's just proper, honest-to-God engineering with none of this driver bullshit. It just works. Well, it doesn't actually work, but you get the point. Save you from repetitive key-in task. The keycaps are thin lasered ABS and they are uniprofile, meaning they all look the same from the side. A few have also snapped clean off, which happens a lot to Alps mount keycaps during shipping. They broke off deeply enough that they'll still sit inside the slider, so it's okay, but you can take them off very easily. I might put some different caps on it sometime, or if I get really desperate I could glue them back on, but they're okay for now. The caps are cheaply made though, one of the many giveaways that this really isn't a quality product. And that's also basically the final verdict. As always with Focus, it's a really cool idea, but more or less ruined by how cheaply they decided to do it. I'm still very happy with it because I think it's cool and it's still useful for me, but by God, Focus, why couldn't you just spend a tiny bit more on your product for fuck's sake? Well, that's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. There's not really any point in a typing demonstration, but I'll do some random key presses to show you what it sounds like.